Hi there, my name is Turk, and today I'll be telling you the story of how Teflon was discovered. Not every invention was created on purpose. Some inventions weren't inventions at all, but they were accidental discoveries, meaning that during a reaction, during a process, something happened in your system, something changed to the point where you got a different product than you were expecting. You got something new that you have never seen before, and it could have good properties, it could have bad properties. Either way, it's a new substance. Teflon was one of these accidental discoveries, but it was found to have remarkable properties, and here's the story of how Teflon was discovered. In 1938, chemist Dr. Roy Plunkett in a Newport lab was working with various gases trying to find a safe alternative to the current refrigerants being used. The problem with the current refrigerants being used was that the gases that they had toxic properties, and these toxic properties were causing the foods inside the refrigerators to become toxic. So food industry workers and people at their homes began to get sick because of the toxic properties from the gases in the refrigerator. So Newport gave Plunkett the task of finding new gases that could be used inside the refrigerators that were more safe and efficient than the current gases being used without the toxic properties. So one of the gases that he tried to use was tetrafluoroethylene, or TFE. And what he did with this gas was he put it in cylinders. He put the gas in the cylinders, and he kept these cylinders at very, very low temperatures, about the temperature of dry ice. And one day, when he went back to use the gas, he noticed that there wasn't any gas left. And he was very confused by this because it didn't really make sense. He put the gas in, and when he weighed these cylinders again, they were the same weight, but there was no gas. And he found that the gas had been polymerized into a white solid, and it had formed polytetrafluoroethylene, PTFE, if you will. And this is what we consider Teflon today. And so what he did with this is he decided not to discard of it, but he would examine the properties of this. It was a white powder, or Teflon, if you will. And so when he was looking at all the different properties, he noticed three major properties that were extremely remarkable. The first one being heat resistance. And he noticed that you could heat the Teflon up to 550 degrees Fahrenheit, and it would remain its shape. It would not melt. It actually can't melt, but when it gets that hot, you can fold it in different shapes, which allows for a lot of different uses. The next thing he noticed was it was very chemically resistant, meaning that you could mix it with chemicals, and the whole time the Teflon remained in its chemical form. Nothing changed it, it stayed the same. And the last thing he noticed was it was very slippery. Nothing seemed to stick to it. It was very resistant to outside substance, making it very weather resistant, making it good for bearing pads. So in a bearing pad in a car, it deals a lot with the weather and grinding, but this Teflon remains resistant to all these outside forces, making them last longer, which makes them nice for that. It wasn't until later that Teflon started being used in pots and pans for cooking. No one had really thought of using it for that, but since they're slippery, the food doesn't really stick to it very easily, and they're very, very heat resistant. They were made perfect pots and pans, and that's one of the most common uses today. And even though Teflon was an accidental discovery, it's still considered a flash of genius, a lucky accident that led to the discovery of an extremely useful substance.